He walked out on her without a single word, not knowing she was pregnant with twins. Years later, as a billionaire, he thought the past was behind him, until the woman he abandoned walked into his boardroom, with their daughters by her side. What happened next changed everything. Stay till the end. This is a story of heartbreak, redemption, and the power of showing up when it matters most. Before we dive into this incredible story, do not forget to subscribe and hit the bell icon, so you never miss our powerful, life-changing content. This is not just entertainment. Every story comes with a meaningful moral lesson that can touch your heart, inspire your journey, and maybe change your life. Billionaire abandoned her without warning. Years later, she walked into his boardroom with their twin daughters. I still remember the day I walked away. It was raining, cold, gray, just like the decision I made. I left her standing on the porch, one hand on her belly, the other reaching out to me, tears falling faster than the rain. But I did not look back. At 23, I had nothing. No family, no backup, no mentor, only hunger, rage, and an obsession with never being poor again. She begged me to stay, said we could do it together, raise the baby, build a life. But I was too scared, too selfish, too convinced that love was a distraction I could not afford. So I disappeared, changed my number, left the city, buried her name so deep, I stopped saying it, even in my mind. The next 10 years were brutal. I slept in cars, ate from vending machines, failed 6 startups, lost everything, twice. But I learned, bit by bit. I studied patterns, people, pain. I built my first company from the floor of a rented storage unit. No windows, no heat, just one broken laptop and a dream that kept me awake every night. Then came the breakthrough. Then the money. Then the attention. Success came like a tidal wave. Sudden, violent, unforgiving. I was on magazine covers, speaking at global conferences, named under 35 Tycoon of the Year. But at night, I stared at the ceiling, haunted by one question. What if I had stayed? I dated, but never loved. Not like her. My assistants once asked if I had children. I said no, with such certainty. It scared me. Then, last Tuesday, everything changed. The board meeting was routine. 10 men in suits. 3 women in sharp heels. Coffee, charts, tension. We were preparing to acquire a new tech startup. A small team, mostly women-led. Founded by a single mother, they said. She walked in late. Quiet. Graceful. Unapologetically confident. And I froze. It was her. Same eyes. Same posture. Same fire. She looked directly at me. No smile. No hesitation. Mr. Lawson, she said. My company is not for sale. But I am here out of respect. I could barely speak. My chest tightened. My hands trembled. Then 2 little girls entered behind her. Identical. Curly hair. Wide, intelligent eyes. They called her Mom. And then they looked at me. Both of them. At the same time. Like they already knew. She turned to the board. These are my daughters, Ava and Eden. The room went silent. Someone coughed. Another shifted in their chair. And I felt the ground disappear beneath me. She walked toward me slowly. Deliberately. I saw it then. In Ava's jawline. In Eden's eyes. My blood. My daughters. My past. My failure. My legacy. She placed a file on the table. I built this company while raising twins. Alone. With no child support. No apology. No closure. I wanted to speak. But guilt strangled my voice. Her voice remained calm. But each word sliced like glass. I taught them resilience. I taught them to fight for what is right. I never told them your name. Because names are not what define a man. She turned to walk away. I stood up. For the first time in years. I stood without power. Without control. Just as a man. A man who ran. A man who broke the only person who ever believed in him. A man who missed 10 birthdays. 10 first steps. 10,000 bedtime stories. I stepped forward. Wait. She paused. The girls looked up at me. Their expressions unreadable. I made the worst mistake of my life, I said. I can never undo what I did. But I am here. Now. And I want to be more than a regret. Her eyes welled up, but she blinked the tears away. Strong. Steady. She handed me a photo. It was a picture of the twins. On their 5th birthday. Wearing matching astronaut suits. One of them had drawn a tiny sketch of me in the corner. Even after all these years. They imagined me. I dropped to my knees. Right there in the boardroom. In front of my empire. And for the first time, I did not care who was watching. Because I was not a billionaire. I was a father who had lost 10 years. And maybe, just maybe, had one last chance to get it right. She knelt beside me. Do you want to know their favorite book? She whispered. I nodded. They love stories about second chances. Her hand brushed mine. Not forgiveness. But a beginning. And for the first time in a decade, hope did not feel like a lie. I stood up slowly. Still holding the photo. My fingers trembling slightly from the weight of everything it represented. I looked down at my daughters. Ava's arms were crossed. Eden tilted her head, curious, cautious. Children could feel things. Even what was not said. Would it be all right, I asked gently, if I spoke with them, privately? She looked at them, not at me. As if seeking their silent permission. Ava gave a small nod. Eden reached for her mother's hand. Then let go. We walked into the small conference lounge next door. The door clicked shut behind us. The silence was deeper now. I sat on one of the couches. They remained standing. Ava broke it first. Why did you leave her? I felt the punch in my gut. I deserved it. I was afraid, I said. They said nothing. But I saw the confusion and disappointment in Ava's eyes. The same disappointment I had carried within myself for years. I thought leaving would help me succeed, I continued. I believed I had to sacrifice everything to become something. But I was wrong. Success without love is hollow. Eden stepped forward. Did you know about us? I shook my head. No. I never knew. If I had, I do not know if I would have been brave enough to come back. But I am glad I know now. And I want to know everything about you. Ava's voice was low. But it carried more weight than anything I had heard in a boardroom. You do not get to just show up now and fix things. She cried. A lot. We saw it. She smiled for us, but we knew. Tears burned behind my eyes. I wanted to say I was sorry. But I had learned that sometimes, sorry was too easy. So I just nodded. I will earn it, I whispered. Whatever it takes. Your trust. Her forgiveness. Your time. I will not expect it. But I will show up. Every day. Eden sat down beside me. She was smaller than Ava. But there was something old in her eyes. Like she had inherited her mother's strength. Do you know how to braid hair? She asked. I smiled, even as my chest cracked open. No. But I can learn. She handed me a small rubber band from her wrist. Bright pink. I will teach you. But only if you promise not to leave again. I took it. Clutched it like a contract. I promise. The door opened slightly. She stood there, the woman I had once broken. There was a hesitation in her gaze. Not from weakness. But from wisdom. From knowing pain deeply. And still choosing what was right for her children. I rose. I would like to talk to you, I said. She looked at the girls. Then back at me. Outside the window. The city sparkled like it always had. But now, for the first time, it did not feel empty. It felt like a place where something could begin again. She nodded. Let us talk. And as we walked toward the hallway, side by side for the first time in 11 years, I knew. This was not a story of guilt. It was not about wealth either. It was about what came after the apology. About rebuilding with truth. About showing up. Every single day. No matter how late. We walked down the hall in silence. Not the kind of silence that pushes people apart. But the kind that prepares the heart for something honest. Her heels clicked softly against the polished floor. My steps were slower than usual. Measured, not with pride. But with humility. We stepped into a quiet side office. Glass walls. Soft light. No distractions. She stood by the window. Looking out at the skyline I once thought meant everything. I waited. I did not speak first this time. I had spoken first too often, and listened too little. Finally, she turned. I did not come here to hurt you. Her voice was firm. Clear. But there was something trembling beneath it. I built that company from pain, she said. Every sleepless night. Every job I had to take just to pay rent and school supplies. Every time they asked where their father was. I poured that into my business. And into being enough for them. My throat tightened. She stepped closer. I never hated you. But I did hate the version of myself that waited for you. That struck deeper than any insult ever could. I was wrong, I said quietly. Not just for leaving. But for thinking I could erase you and become someone better. She folded her arms. I do not need you to say sorry, Matthew. I needed you to be better. For them. Not for me. I am trying, I said. Not as a gesture. Not as redemption. But because I finally understand what I walked away from. A silence fell between us again. But this time, it felt like a pause, not a wall. She sighed. They know you now. And that changes things. But you cannot be part-time. You cannot show up just on birthdays or during holidays. They have built their lives without you. If you want a place in them, you must earn it slowly. With patience. With presence. I will. I mean it, she said, stepping even closer. No broken promises. No dramatics. Just effort. Real, consistent effort. I looked her in the eyes. I will be there for every math test. Every piano recital. Every scraped knee and midnight fever. Even when I am tired. Even when it is inconvenient. Because I was absent once. And I know what that costs now. She nodded once. Then her eyes softened, just slightly. They talk about you, you know. Even when they did not know your name. Ava used to pretend her dad was a superhero. Eden, she drew you taller than the moon. My heart cracked open. All the boardroom triumphs. The Forbes covers. The late-night applause. None of it mattered anymore. Just the thought of two little girls. Believing in a man who was not there. I swallowed hard. May I pick them up from school tomorrow? She studied my face. Every line. Every word I did not say. Then finally, she reached into her purse. Took out a piece of paper. And wrote something down. A time. An address. She handed it to me. They like peanut butter sandwiches in their lunch. No crusts. And Eden hates carrots. I took the note like it was gold. Thank you, I whispered. She walked to the door. But paused with her hand on the handle. They are not your second chance, Matthew. They are not a symbol of your growth. They are two whole people. Protect them. Honor them. Earn them. She left. I stood there in that quiet room, holding a small piece of paper with my future scribbled on it. For the first time in my life, I did not feel like a billionaire. I felt like a father. And that felt far richer than anything I had ever known. The next morning, I stood outside their school gates. I was early. Too early. The other parents waited in cars or chatted in small groups. I stood alone, clutching two lunchboxes. One with stars. One with pandas. Peanut butter sandwiches. No crusts. No carrots. My hands were sweating. Ridiculous, really. I had spoken in front of thousands. Closed billion-dollar deals. But waiting to see my daughters step out of that school building. It felt like the most important moment of my life. The bell rang. Children poured out like waves. Laughter. Backpacks bouncing. Shoes slapping the pavement. And then I saw them. Ava walked with confidence. Head high. Eyes scanning. Eden was beside her. Quiet, clutching a book to her chest. They spotted me. Ava slowed. Eden froze. I knelt down, holding out the lunchboxes. I packed them myself. They did not rush to me. They did not smile. But they walked forward. Ava took hers. Opened it. Checked inside. She looked at me for a long second. No crusts. I nodded. And no carrots, Eden whispered. I remember, I said. Eden looked up. Can you stay and walk us home? Their mother stepped forward from across the parking lot. She had been watching. She gave the faintest nod. I stood. Held out my hand. Did not force it. Eden reached first. Her small fingers curled around mine. Ava hesitated. Then took my other hand. We walked. 3 shadows on the sidewalk. 2 small. 1 unsure. I did not speak. I just listened. They talked about school. About a girl named Molly who always borrowed Ava's pens. About a boy who made Eden laugh but pulled her braid. I asked if they liked their teachers. They both shrugged. They are okay. Ava glanced at me sideways. Why did you come back now? I took a breath. The truth was not pretty. But it was real. Because I finally realized what matters. And I was tired of running from it. She nodded slowly. Not satisfied. But not rejecting me either. Eden pointed up ahead. That is our house. It was small. Paint peeling on the porch. A garden overgrown but alive. They ran ahead. Dropped their bags by the front step. She stepped outside, drying her hands with a towel. They told me you walked the whole way. I nodded. I needed to. She leaned on the doorway. You looked different. Lighter. She gave a faint smile. No. Softer. The girls ran inside. I stayed on the porch. She looked at me. Would you like to stay for dinner? I felt something shift in my chest. A small door creaking open. Yes, I said. If that is all right. It is, she said. For now. I stepped inside. It smelled like cinnamon and something baking. Home. A word I had not understood in years. Ava was setting the table. Eden was at the stove with her mother. Stirring a pot carefully, her brow furrowed. They laughed together. That kind of laugh that comes from safety. I stood quietly by the door. Afraid to move. Afraid it might all vanish. But it did not. She looked at me. There is an extra plate in the cabinet. Go ahead. I walked to it. Opened it. A plain white dish. Chipped on one side. But to me, it looked like the finest china in the world. I placed it down beside theirs. Not just a plate. But a place. My place. And as I reached for the forks, Eden looked up at me. Dad. It stopped me cold. I looked at her. Carefully. Wondering if I had heard right. She smiled. You forgot the spoons. I laughed. The kind that breaks and heals you at the same time. I turned to grab them. My hands still shook. But my heart was finally learning how to stay. Dinner that night felt sacred. Not in a grand, ceremonial way. But in the small, ordinary miracles that I had once overlooked. Eden humming softly as she stirred the stew. Ava folding the napkins into little triangles. The clatter of spoons. The bubbling sound of something warm on the stove. The scent of rosemary and roasted potatoes filling the kitchen. I sat at the table. Hands in my lap. Watching. Listening. Absorbing. They moved around each other with rhythm. 3 lives that had learned to survive without me. And yet, they had left space. Space at the table. Space in their laughter. Space, maybe, in their hearts. When we sat down to eat, no one said grace. But I closed my eyes for a second anyway. A silent thank you. For this seat. For this chance. For this slow, undeserved redemption. So, Ava said between bites. Do billionaires eat real food like this? I smiled. Not often enough. Eden leaned forward. What do they eat then? Mostly stress, I said. And room service. They giggled. She, their mother, looked up from her plate. Do you miss it? Her voice was calm. Unloaded. But there was meaning behind the question. I thought about the boardrooms. The glass elevators. The luxury hotels where I fell asleep to silence. I miss thinking it mattered, I said. She held my gaze. And now, I am learning that what matters does not come with a price tag. It comes with 2 lunchboxes and a crooked smile. Ava rolled her eyes. But there was a tiny grin hiding behind it. After dinner, I offered to do the dishes. They looked surprised. Do you even know how? Eden teased. I am a fast learner. She showed me how to angle the sponge just right. How to stack the plates without dripping. Ava dried. Their mother leaned against the counter. Watching with an expression I could not fully read. Not forgiveness. Not yet. But not anger either. Later, we sat in the small living room. The girls curled up on the couch. Their legs tangled like vines. I sat on the floor beside them. My back against the couch. Tell us a story, Ava said. I looked up. What kind? About you. When you were little. I paused. No one had asked me that in decades. I used to sit in my grandfather's garage, I began. He repaired radios.
Old ones.
He said every broken thing could be fixed.
If you took the time.
If you listened to the silence.
They listened.
Not just to the words, but to the space between them. I did not tell them everything that night. Not about the nights I slept under bridges. Not about the fear of turning into my own father.
But I told them enough.
Enough to build a bridge.
Not just of stories, but of truth.
When it was time for bed,
they hugged me.
Tighter than I expected. She walked me to the door. The air outside was cool.
Still.
I know this does not fix anything, I said.
She nodded. But you showed up.
That matters. I want to keep showing up.
Then do. We stood in silence again.
And then she surprised me. You can come again tomorrow.
If you like.
I felt something shift in my chest.
A small seed. Hope, maybe.
I would like that, I said. She opened the door. Light from inside spilled across the porch. As I turned to leave, Eden's voice called out from upstairs. Good night, Dad.
I stopped.
She said it like it was the most natural thing in the world.
Not a question. Not a test. A gift.
And I carried it with me.
All the way home.
That night, I could not sleep. Not because of stress. Not because of deadlines. But because my heart was too full. I sat by the window in my penthouse apartment.
A home built for solitude.
Designed for grandeur. But now, it just felt empty. I looked out at the city lights. Each one blinking like a memory.
And I thought of her voice.
The way she said, then do. I thought of Eden's tiny hand wrapped around mine.
Of Ava's sharp, searching eyes.
Of their laughter at the table.
Of the scent of cinnamon.
Of the weight of that single word echoing down the stairs. Dad. It stayed with me. Held me together in places I had never repaired.
For the first time in my life, I wanted less. Less applause.
Less distraction. Less distance from the people who truly mattered. I canceled a meeting the next morning. First time in years.
No excuse. No assistant.
Just a decision. By noon, I was back at their doorstep.
No flowers.
No grand gestures. Just a backpack. 2 sets of colored pencils.
And a book on how to braid hair.
She answered the door in an old t-shirt.
A coffee mug in her hand. Sleep still in her eyes.
You came early. I wanted to see what mornings looked like here.
She stepped aside. Let me in.
The girls were in the kitchen.
Still in pajamas.
Ava was trying to pour cereal without spilling. Eden was humming. Dancing barefoot on the tile.
They looked up. No shock. No celebration. Just quiet acceptance. Like maybe they had hoped I would return. And now I had. Do you want coffee? She asked. I would love some. I helped pack the school lunches. This time, I cut the apples correctly. Eden inspected my sandwich edges. Approved. Then came the braid. I knelt behind her. Fumbling awkwardly. She giggled. No, over, not under. Her little hands guided mine. Patience in every movement. When I finally tied the end, Ava raised an eyebrow. It is crooked. I will get better, I said. You better, she replied. But she smiled. They left for school. Backpacks bouncing. Voices trailing off in the morning air. She and I stood in the doorway again. She looked at me. You did not have to come back like this. I know. But you did. I want to keep doing it. She nodded slowly. You are not who you used to be. Neither are you. Her expression softened. I was angry for a long time. Not just because you left. But because part of me still believed in you. And I hated that part. I stepped closer. And now. She looked out at the street. Now. I think that part of me was braver than I realized. We did not speak for a while. The silence between us no longer held shame. It held possibility. She turned to go back inside. I watched her. The curve of her shoulders. The quiet strength in the way she moved. I knew I had hurt her. Broken something sacred. But what I saw now was a woman who had become stronger than my absence. And I wondered if I had the strength to grow beside her. Not just chase after her shadow. My phone buzzed. It was a message from Ava. A photo. Of the braid. Crooked. Imperfect. But done. Under it, she had typed one word. Progress. I laughed. And for the first time, I felt it too. Progress. Not perfection. Not applause. Just movement. Forward.
That afternoon, I returned one last time.
Not with grand plans.
Not with apologies. But with presence, steady, humble, quiet. The girls were playing in the yard. Their laughter light and unburdened. Danced in the air like wind chimes. I watched them from the porch. Leaning against the same railing I had stood before as a boy.
Too afraid to stay. Now a man.
Grateful for the chance to grow roots. She came out beside me.
A cup of tea in her hands. No words at first. Just a shared peace.
I never thought we would get here, she said. I never thought I deserved to, I replied. She looked at me for a long moment. Then handed me the tea. It is not about deserving, she said. It is about showing up.
Again. And again.
Until the showing becomes the healing. I sipped quietly. The warmth sank into my chest. The girls ran up the steps, out of breath. Ava handed me a sheet of paper. Their family tree.
A school assignment. My name was on it. Not in bold. Not circled. Just there.
No longer missing. Eden wrapped her arms around my leg. We are keeping you, you know.
I smiled. Kneeled down. Held them both close.
I am already yours. Their mother watched us. A softness in her gaze. Not romantic.
Not yet. But real. Respectful. Grown.
And maybe, someday, forgiving. As the sun began to set, and shadows stretched long across the yard, I knew something with certainty. This was no longer the story of a man who left. It was the story of a man who came back.
Who stayed.
Who built something greater than success.
He built trust.
He earned a place in the hearts he once broke. Not by promises.
By presence. Not by wealth. By wisdom.
And by the willingness to be small. So love could be big again. Moral of the story. It is never too late to become the person your loved ones needed you to be. Success without love is emptiness dressed in gold. But showing up, consistently, humbly, wholeheartedly, that is what turns regret into redemption. And broken chapters into beautiful endings.
The end.
Share your thoughts in the comments below. Your words matter, and your story might be the light someone else needs today. Let us grow together. Let us heal together. Let us build a community of brave souls, one truth at a time.